Hi, my name is Tara Kachaturoff, and I'm the host of Michigan Entrepreneur, where we feature businesses from startup to stellar. Today, we have as our special guest Shawn Robertson of Shawn Robertson Hypnosis. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Tara. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, it's welcome back. So we're going to actually explore another aspect of hypnosis with you today. Things that can really help individuals in their personal and professional lives. But before we do that, why don't we talk a little bit about your background and what got you into hypnosis in the first place?
I started as a biological scientist, actually, an entomologist, someone who studies insects. And during the course of my work for 30 years with insects, I started studying insect behavior and got interested in human behavior. And then I had some problems with my back and some kind of anxieties. And I turned to self hypnosis, and it worked so well. I just started studying hypnosis and thought I could use this to help other people. And after a few years of studying, I decided to just drop my old career and go full time into hypnotherapy. And
And
it's been great.
what types of you're actually based in Europe, and I've actually worked with you in the past. I know you from a couple of years ago when we first met. Um, what kinds of hypnosis do you do? Do you specialize in any particular areas?
Yeah, I kind of specialize in chronic pain and in severe anxiety. Either over a certain topic or just anxiety in general. So those are the two things I really specialize on.
And as you've been working, with people, I know you work locally with people, but are you also working virtually? Because I know a lot of things have changed since COVID. How do you, I mean, are you working with people all over the world, or how is it working for you right now?
Yeah, I was trying to work that out. I think about 80% of my work is online.
Oh, 80%. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. I worked with people in many countries in the US, Canada, England, let's see, India, Australia, Switzerland, and Germany. Yeah, but some of my favorite clients have been from Michigan, strangely. I don't know what's up with that, but
So you've had more than a few people in Michigan?
I have. I have.
Oh, good. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Great to hear. Yeah, we got great people here. But hypnosis works. I mean, I've used it for many different things, and it's like it's kind of miraculous to me. And it's so fast. It's not like you wait like weeks and months and years for things to work itself out. I don't know. I've
That's
seen
right. That's
instantaneous
one thing.
results.
It really draws me to it because it, as far as I've seen it, is the fastest thing. It's the fastest, kind of least painful way to change your behavior and how you feel.
Yeah, and what I've learned from working with other hypnotists is that it is about my behavior. You know what I mean? It's not it's all about me, and I can change those things, and that's what I guess is so interesting about it. Um, well, today, what I want to talk about is something called perceptions. And I know you and I had discussed this topic a little bit, but um, why don't you tell me a little bit about perceptions and what it means to you in the world of hypnosis and working with people? How would you define perceptions? Um, and I will unpack it from there.
Okay. So when I'm saying perception, I just mean kind of the way what you think is true for yourself and your situation. And the reason it's important is because the brain, I think, will automatically produce any behavior or feeling that your mind tells it to. So if that's true, then the question is, how do I get my mind to tell my brain to produce the behavior I want? And strangely, it's not the things you tell yourself. Because if those were the instructions to your mind, to your brain, you'd automatically have no problems. You just say, "Oh, I feel good," and you would. And the instructions your mind sends to your brain are also not the things other people say to you. Because if that were true, you for sure wouldn't have problems, right? People are always telling you how to get rid of your problems. So the, the instructions your mind sends to your brain are your perceptions that are formed from what you say to yourself and from what other people say to you. Not what they say, but the perceptions that what they say create.
Okay, so let me just unpack that a little bit.
Okay.
It's not what I say to myself. that creates my behaviors, and it's not what other people say to me about me. So it's
Right.
not what my parents said, it's not that, it's my perception of both of those things.
Right. For
So
example,
what is perception then? Now I'm still back to like, what is it?
so it's what you kind of really believe. So, for example, if you say to yourself, um, I don't know, I'll just use myself as an example. I'm going to be the most famous hypnotist in the world. I'm going to be the most famous hypnotist in the world. So what really goes through my mind when I say that is, who am I trying to kid? That's never going to happen. That's my perception, and that is the message that gets into my brain. So that's why an affirmation can backfire. If you don't believe it, it can create the opposite perception of what you want it to. Does that
Yikes.
make sense?
Yeah, because a lot of people focus on affirmations. I've never found them effective, but some people do.
They work if you believe them, but if
How
you
do we
don't
make
believe it, it's
ourselves
the opposite.
believe then? How do we align?
Uh,
How do we align then? Maybe I'm jumping ahead. I'll let
no,
you.
that's right.
How do we
That's the
align?
whole point of hypnosis, is to get you to perceive what you want to to be reality. Because whatever you perceive as reality is automatically reality for you. If you perceive yourself as being a happy, successful person, then you are. So the whole trick is to get to that perception.
And that's the rub. That's the hard part about life, right?
It's simple, but it's not easy.
It's simple, but it's not easy. Okay. How could we break down those steps of changing our perceptions?
Well, there's many ways, but I would say anytime you have a problem, there's two aspects of it. There's the mental part and there's the physical part. So, like if someone says, "I'm really nervous about this exam that's coming up," there's a there's a mental part of it, but there's also a feeling that I know there's a hypnosis trick where you say to the person, "How do you know you're nervous?" And that makes them think for a while, and they may say, "Because I have this feeling in my stomach, this really butterfly feeling in my stomach." And then I could say, "Well, how do you know that that's nervousness? Maybe it's excitement. Don't you feel that way when you're getting on a roller coaster?" And this method sort of changes the meaning you make from the feeling. So that's changing the mental part.
Do you have to mesh it into, do you have to morph it into finding it in the body? Do you have to go that feeling route?
You don't have to go that way, but I find that the feeling route is really helpful,
Oh,
because
okay.
someone, like, you could say, you're nervous about taking this test, and someone says, "Yes, I'm super nervous because if I fail this test, I'm going to get I'm going to fail this class. I'm going to get kicked out of school. I'm not going to be able to get a job. I'm going to be unemployed. I'm going to live under a bridge in a box. I'm going to die. I'm going to freeze to death in a box under a bridge." And that's the thoughts. And it's really hard to change that, even though it seems crazy, that train of thought. It's hard to change that when someone's feeling this feeling inside. So you can just drop the thought part and go straight to the feeling.
I see. Now, once we get to the feeling, and then we know it's not a certain type of butterfly, because you would be able to identify the butterfly since you're
That's
an
right. That's
entomologist.
always, that's right.
So then what do we do with that feeling?
So here's one thing you can do is to get someone to really describe the feeling. What is it? What are you feeling? And they might say, "Oh, I have this horrible feeling inside." So, what do you mean horrible feeling? What is it like? What? How big is it? Where is it? And they might say, "What's in my chest? It's this heavy feeling." Okay, how big is it? How far does it expand? Where are its edges? Is it heavy? Is it light? Is it prickly? Is it foamy? Get them to really describe the feeling, and just the act of doing that often makes the feeling a lot less. And it's the same with
Interesting.
pain. That's the first step.
That's the first step. Okay. Describe the feeling.
Right.
And well, understand where it is in your body, I guess, and then
Right.
have them describe it, feel it.
Mhm. And then once you can do that, because a lot of people never even go that far. They never even, they just feel like, "I feel bad," and they don't ever realize they're feeling it in their body. So once they know that and they describe the feeling really accurately, you can say, okay, get that really feeling and feel how bad it is on 1 to 10 or how strong it is. And then you can just distract them in any way possible. And one way is, and a lot of people have heard of this, is the tapping method where you can say, okay, feel that feeling, feel that strong feeling. And now open your eyes, look at me, and let's tap. Okay, this feeling, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. And you get them to tap along with you. I'm letting it go right now. I'm letting this feeling go. I'm going to let it go. Tap here. Then you can do anything, but get them to hold their arm, deep breath, peace. And then they kind of shake it off and say, okay, go back to the feeling now. How's it feel? No, well, it's not so spiky. It's less. It's in the middle now. Okay. Get them to describe it again and then distract them again with the tapping. Or you could, and sometimes it's very intense. If someone has a really intense feeling, you have to really snap them out of it and ask them some question like, what did you eat for breakfast this morning? And then they go there, and then you can distract them and say, find 4 white things in this room. And they do that. And then, okay, back to that feeling. And by then the feeling is getting smaller and smaller.
And why
And
is the feeling getting smaller and smaller? What is happening inside the brain?
I don't know. You're just interrupting this pattern. There's this pattern, and when you interrupt it, it just makes the feeling go away. It's very strange. And once the feeling is gone, you could go back to the original problem. So describe this box. You're going to freeze to death in under this bridge, and the person will be like, oh, well, I guess that was kind of silly. That's probably not going to happen. It's very strange, but that's one way to change perceptions.
Interesting. Okay, so going back to the steps, we're going to need to notice that we're having some feeling,
Mm-hmm.
find out where the feeling is in our body, describe the feeling, and maybe give it a ranking on 1 to 10 and how
Mm-hmm.
like intense it is, right? 1 being not, or 0 being no intensity, and 10 being super intense. And then going through a tapping sequence with your hypnotist
Mm-hmm. Or by yourself.
or by
You can do it
yourself.
by yourself. You can do the tapping by yourself. And I used to not know this, but it really, you have to, when you do the tapping, you have to open your eyes and get just really present in the room. If you're tapping and really thinking about the thing, it doesn't really work. You have to tap and open your eyes and be distracted.
So do you not keep your mind on the problem then? You're not
Mm-hmm.
keeping your mind on the problem?
No, you get the problem in your mind, and then when you do the tapping, you drop it.
Oh, okay. Externalize.
Mm-hmm. Just like drop that and do this other thing, and then go back to the problem. It's
Oh, it's
some
not being
people,
immersed in the problem while you're tapping.
yeah, you don't do that. Just
Okay.
let it drop. Yeah, and I used to, I don't know, I've learned a lot. So you drop the feeling totally. You do the tapping, and then you return to the feeling. And some people think that you're really touching meridians and all that, and that could be true. But I know for a fact that just distraction works as well. So you've heard of Mike Mandel. I'm sure we talked about him, the famous hypnotist. And he does a thing. He'll have someone describe a problem. They'll be all worked up, and while he's there describing the problem, he'll suddenly take his watch and sniff under it. When the person stops and, what did you do? Never mind. Go back to the problem, and they do it again. And he does it again, and suddenly the person can't really get the feeling anymore. He's distracted them too many times, and they broke the pattern of this problem.
And there's also the
So
Melissa Tears thing of like, stop.
yeah,
And just freaking you out and snapping you out of whatever you're talking about,
that's
right?
right. She also does a thing where you pass like a cup back and forth,
Oh, yeah, to go
and that
across the meridians, yeah,
has
to
the same effect.
depotentiate.
Yeah.
To depotentiate. So when you're is this often a technique that you'll use with all the different folks that you work with, or does it kind of just depend on what's going on?
It depends on what's going on, but it's something that works with most people, and it's something that most people can do for themselves. So
And we can,
sometimes it's
yes, we
really,
can do this by ourselves if we want to go through the tapping, right?
yes,
Can you go
absolutely.
through the tapping routine with us, and I'll just follow
Yeah.
it along with you just so people know where to tap?
Yeah. And I'm not sure it's that important, but some people do. So Let's
Okay.
do it the right way.
All right. So you tell me, I'll just go along with you. Do you
Okay,
start at
so
the top of the head? I don't know if you do that or
yeah, you can do
around.
that. Mike Mandel does that. So yeah, why not? So get the feeling that whatever the issue is,
And do we say anything? Do we also articulate the problem?
you can. I think it helps. I think it does. I
Okay.
think
Can
so.
we pick something that's
Yeah.
like
Let's
benign because we don't want
yeah,
to
let's pick a
hear?
really but a nervous feeling inside. So
Okay.
we're on an interview. We're probably both nervous. So let's do that. We have this nervous feeling inside,
Okay.
and then start tapping. Oh, this nervous feeling inside. I'm
This
gonna let it
nervous
go.
feeling inside, I'm going to let it go.
Yeah, that's safe to let it go. I'm with friends. I'm just gonna let it go now.
It's safe to let it go. I'm with friends.
And sometimes I make jokes. This nervous feeling. It's been with me so long. It's a great friend, but I'm tired of this friend. I'm gonna let it go now.
It's great, friend. Tired of it. Tired of it. Gonna let it go.
Right. Then go to this front part here. I'm gonna let this feeling go now. This nervous feeling. It's been with me every time I do an interview, but now I'm tired of it. I'm gonna let it go.
Gonna let it go.
And then this bone here, and look, I'm gonna let this feeling go. Just letting it go now. And now grab her wrist, squeeze tight, take a deep breath, let it
Peace.
go, and say peace. And then
Excellent.
check in with the feeling. And I'm less nervous. I don't know about you.
I'm less nervous. I'm all cash. I'm feeling great.
Maybe you were never nervous to begin with. But
Yeah,
that's an
excellent.
amazing technique.
All right. Yeah, thank you for showing us that and explaining this process that we can go through for this. So, you talked a little bit about how perceptions are formed from like
Mhm.
what we say to ourselves and what people say to us, but it's really our perception of things.
Mhm.
So how do we, let's just say, navigate like some of the things that are just happening in the world? We're getting a lot of data dumping into us. How
Right.
can we manage our perceptions in a really productive ecological way so that we're less impacted while still having empathy and caring about what's going on in the world, but so we're less impacted in a negative way? What kinds of tips could you give around that?
I would think first to think what is the most ecological for me? What is going to help me get through this the best? I could think if something happens in the world, I could think, well, this is terrible for the world. It's going to mess everybody up. The world is going to be terrible. That's probably going to make me feel bad. But I could externalize and say, well, things happen. I have no control over this. I'm going to limit my exposure to it. I'm going to, I'm just going to perceive that this is not going to affect me. I'm going to perceive that I'm going to continue my life the way it is, and that's fine. It's just my decision is going to be what do I need to perceive to feel good, and then try to perceive that. If that makes sense.
A lot of folks, though, feel like they are very much at effect and not
Mhm.
cause. And how do you build that muscle in somebody to be at cause to even say, I'm not going to have this affect me in a negative way? How can they build up confidence and I guess that self-efficacy to know that they have the strength to not be at effect of everything that they hear and read and so on?
I think one way to go about it is to go for the physical first, and it's one of the tenets of neurolinguistic programming, NLP,
Hmm.
is to change your physical state first, and you can
Okay.
do that by standing up, breathing deep, walking around, shaking, having this big, adopt the Superman pose or the Wonder Woman pose, and just really change your physical presence in a room. And that right away starts to change the way everything feels. And when you do that, you can start to, it gives you the more strength to deal with something mentally.
Let
Really
me
feel that, breathe in that air and march around the room like you own it, and be like Superman, like Wonder Woman, hold your
Yeah, I
arms
mean,
up wide.
it does totally change your feeling inside of you versus, like, if you're gonna go like this and
Right.
clump
You could
over.
all of us,
They say, like,
yeah,
curl up and die, like, it's not a positive thing, right? Curling up
yeah.
and die like a bug, bringing the bugs back into things. But, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, when we, stand up tall and sit straight in our chair and, um, everything looks a little different, right?
Yeah,
We just even maybe moved ourselves 1 inch differently, and really perception changes, right?
it
Perception
does.
changes with physical, where are we in physical space?
it opens up some space in your mind to be more positive, I think. And I know another, to mention Mike Mandel again, he does that, and he has this place on his wrist where he taps right between these two bones,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he does that and says, I'm in the zone, I'm feeling great, that kind of thing. Just walking around and doing that. And what I find really helps me is if you can find certain music, if there's a song that always gets you moving, listen to that. That can change your mood in a second. And suddenly things that seem so dark, you're just like, oh, I guess it's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to, probably won't die in a box under a bridge.
And, the thing is like music kind of pulls you out of whatever you're in because it kind of instead of everything being in your head, now you're listening through your ears and you're kind of changing how you're perceiving the outside world.
That's right. It's another pattern interrupt. You interrupt that doom, spiral, and stop it with something positive and fun.
And it brings to mind like, I've done this for myself, when things are particularly stressful, it's just writing on like a 3x5 card or something. Um, what are my go-tos when things start going wrong?
Mhm.
Because, when things go wrong, like it's hard to remember, like, what do I do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's a good
shifting
idea.
our physical self in physical space, I guess, is something. Doing the tapping that you talked to
Mhm.
us about is something. I'd like to spend the last few minutes talking about something else, which I know that you're an expert in, and that's about breath work. So,
Mhm.
can we talk about that for a few minutes and the importance of breath and maintaining our mind or equanimity?
Yeah, that is a great subject, and that's one I studied a little bit with Anthony Jacquin, who's a great hypnotist in England, and I did a breath course with him. And there's a pattern of breathing in 6 seconds and breathing out 6 seconds through your nose that just sort of tells your brain that everything is okay, because you only breathe that way if everything's okay. You're never that calm breathing slowly through your nose unless everything's okay.
And that's a count of 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out.
That's right. So it'd be like breathe in, two, three, four, five, six. Breathe out, two, three, four, five, six. And I know this works because, and I think we've talked about it before. My wife got me to go swimming in a freezing cold lake,
Yeah.
this ice baden, as they call it in Switzerland. And the only way I was able to do that is to do that breathing. And when you do that breathing, it just really sends that message to your brain that everything is okay. And it really calms you down.
So when you go and you get into the ice cold water and you're up to your neck in water, right?
Mhm.
You are doing this breathing, 6 in, 6 out.
Absolutely.
And how many minutes are you in the ice water?
The rule of thumb is 1 minute per Celsius degree. So if you, like, if it's 6 degree water, you shouldn't be in there for more than 6 minutes. And 6 degrees in Fahrenheit is, I don't know, probably 45 or something
Ugh,
cold,
yikes.
something horrible.
You still doing those ice baden things? Ice
Yeah, I
baths?
mean,
You
up
still
to now,
doing them?
my wife used the excuse it's not cold enough, but it's
It's
cold
not
enough.
cold
Just the other
enough.
day, it was cold. It was plenty cold enough.
Oh my gosh. But it's a healthy thing too. So,
Yeah.
going back to the breathing, when you're do you is this something you regularly incorporate when you're doing hypnosis, or does it kind of just depend on the situation, or is this something like homework or field work that you send home with the client?
Yeah, it's something I incorporate sometimes. I don't always do it. Sometimes
Mhm.
there's just too many things, but if I can teach people to do that, it's good. And just a tip for anyone who's using Zoom, if you use a metronome, Zoom automatically will cut that sound out. So you have to change your sound settings to allow the ticking sound to go forth. And I use a metronome to do it. And I think it's really helpful to do that. You could just look at your watch or something, I guess, but
Yeah, yeah. So, because the other person will not hear it, so
right, they will not hear
it
it unless you
cancels
change
out.
your sound to musician quality sound or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, I totally understand. So is this doing the same thing? Is this interrupting patterns too, or is this just something to calm you down? Will this change a behavior, breathing, or is it just to reduce anxiety in the moment?
I think the breathing like that, the 6 seconds in, the 6 seconds out,
Mhm.
is you have to kind of get there first because if you're really panicking, it's really hard to breathe that way. So there's another technique if you're really having a panic attack.
Mhm.
I think Andrew Huberman popularized this, is to take two big sniffs, like, and then breathe out. And you do
Oh,
that
yeah.
twice, then that calms you down a lot, and then you can go into the 6-6 breathing.
And why do you know why that does that? I know I learned that from you. I've actually used that.
I'm
Works.
not sure. I think it's a pattern interrupt. I think it's the same as. Do you remember that movie Airplane? That a long time
The
ago.
comedy thing? The
Yeah.
comedy one? Yeah.
When someone starts freaking out and then someone slaps them,
Oh, yeah, that's
and
that's a pattern
that's
interrupt,
a pattern
yes.
interrupt. That's right. It's kind of like that, a less violent one.
Oh my god,
That's a
now I'm never gonna get that out of my mind.
right.
Actually, that's a great example of a pattern interrupt.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so funny. Now I have to rewatch the movie with a different point of view. Yeah, that's interesting. So we've got all these different tools that you've talked about today. We've got understanding our perceptual our perceptions, clearing them with tapping, breathing. Is there any other quick thing that we can share in the last couple minutes that might be helpful for somebody to kind of interrupt what's going on in their mind and runaway thoughts?
Hmm. Well, I like your idea of the card, having some reminder of what you should do, because when you're in the moment, you don't think of those things. So if you have a kind of go-to card or reminder of what you could do, listen to music, jump up and start breathing. I mean, the first thing is to realize that you're in this situation, because
Hmm.
sometimes your perception is just, it's so bad. I'm in this horrible situation. The first thing is to perceive, oh, I am perceiving this. And the second, what can I do to get out of it? And once
Right.
you decided to get out of it, then it's just a matter of choosing your technique to break that pattern and then to perceive that you're okay.
And I'll tell you, when you're in a spin, it's like it's so hard to remember, what do I do to get out of this? I mean, my
Right.
go-to a lot is like go exercise. Like I grab an exercise band, a lightweight.
Mhm.
If it's nice outside, walk around the block or something. It completely kind of depotentiates the whatever's going on at the moment.
Right. You're going to the physical. That's really great to get
Yeah.
outside and do some exercise.
Yeah, mine is really a physical thing. Like, I don't listen to much music. I wish I did more. I'm really trying to listen more.
Mhm.
Um, but I only listen to classical music, so, I don't have a big, array of music. But the
Mhm.
physical is where I tend to feel like the best, the fastest.
Mhm. I think for each person, it's good to find what is your go-to that's going to really get you out of something. And once you know that, then you have to make the decision to actually use it when the problem happens.
Absolutely. So, in your opinion, if we had to just pick one thing or just one piece of advice you'd give somebody to help them change their perceptions of what's going on in their life, what would that piece of advice be?
I think I would say just to realize that you are creating this problem. It doesn't have to be a problem. It's only a problem because of the way you're thinking of it. So if you know that, you can start to work like, okay, what do I need to think to keep this problem going? Or and the opposite of that is, what do I need to think to make this problem go away?
Excellent. All right. Great advice. I want to thank you so much, Sean, for being a guest again on our program to talk about all things hypnosis. And today, talking about perception. Thank you so much for being a guest. And I hope to see you again in the future when we talk about another interesting topic around hypnosis.
Thank you, Tara. Great to see you.
Absolutely.
Great to be here.
All right. If you'd like more information about our program, please visit us at michiganentrepreneurtv.com. Please join me again in the future when I interview another enterprising entrepreneur. Until then, wishing you the best of business.